We bought a collection.
You might not be seeing any of the good stuff. That's because we've already pulled it.
We've got the good stuff.
We're going to show you the good stuff.
Yeah, let's go through this thing, we'll price it out, and show you what value we got. In response.
Hello and welcome to the day.
Thank you for spending your time with us.
I'm Jake.
I'm Joel. Welcome back to another episode of Jake and Joel Are Magic. This week, before we get started, if you wouldn't mind, click and like, click and subscribe. If you like the video by the end of it, consider doing that. It really helps us out. Let's look at some old cards.
Woo! So, we went ahead and we bought a collection. We can go ahead and let you know what we bought it for. We bought it for $275.
Yeah.
And this was after they sent us the cards and we were able to go through and kind of appraise it, give them a good idea of what they had.
Right.
So we can go ahead and let you know this collection came out to about 380 market.
Priced out with every little thing priced out.
Yeah, and when you're buying a collection, something to keep in mind is you have to take into account all of the time that would be spent piecing all of these cards out individually and selling them. And the amount of time that that takes ends up being worth just simply buying the collection in bulk at 70%.
Right.
They get to feel good, you get to feel good, because you've went ahead and you've got a collection where if you did want to piece it out, you could get your money back for it, but really you're doing them a favor. And a store is going to buy this at a lot less than 70%.
Yeah, 40-50%.
Yeah,
maybe.
so when I buy cards, I like to buy them at 70% because it gives me a small margin to make money if I want to move them or if I want to trade them.
Yeah.
And it gives that other person the benefit of being like, oh, okay, yeah, I just moved it all in one big lump sum. I don't have to take the time to look it all up or price it out. Or, when you're selling it on eBay individually, you have to eat fees, and there's fees on TCG
Shipping.
Player, and so on, and so on, and so on.
This collection is interesting because we did get it before we actually paid for it, so that we could appraise it and get a full view of what we had. When this was sent to us, you saw the notebook at the beginning. We were sent, a couple I just asked our friend for a couple of random pictures through the notebook, flip through the whole thing, give me a couple different colors, let me see, so I can get a sense of what set the cards roughly came from. When we saw that it was a bunch of older looking cards, cooler older looking cards in my opinion, then we said, okay, it's worth it, go ahead and pay for shipping, get the whole notebook out to us, we'll fully appraise the entire thing, and then buy it off you after that.
Yeah, now obviously you're not looking at all of the bulk that was in the binder in the beginning of the film. We're going to show you some stuff, and let's go ahead and look at a couple of the notables here.
Okay. There's
some cool stuff, and now we're not showing you all the good stuff yet.
Yeah. We'll do another jump to some other cards too, but the Swords to Plowshares in particular had kind of an interesting story around them. Yeah,
the swords are really neat, and we'll show you what was really cool at the end. But you're just gonna see 3 revised swords here, and these cards are just they're really cool, old, vintage, neat cards. This is just like, oh man, when you think about Magic and you see people playing, Swords is one of the best old removals.
Yeah, and I mean it stayed a staple in EDH and Commander for a long time until it was just printed into oblivion. And
yeah, I mean it's still a staple in EDH.
It still gets played a lot.
Yeah, but there's a lot of really cool old stuff here. Most of this collection, as you'll see, is it's mostly revised,
These
as
old
you can tell.
Specters.
Oh yeah, those old hippie specters, and you can also look. There's some Ice Age stuff in here. Most of the collection, Joel, was Ice Age revised, and there was a little bit of Fallen Empires, but mostly a lot of sets that don't have a lot of high value cards, except for obviously revised.
Right. So here's another group of cards. You can see all of the counter spells across the top row there. We wanted to mention this because this was a collection that is very clear was owned by someone who played a lot and really loved the game when they did play.
Yeah, a lot of these cards are in, as you can see, mild play, light play.
And there were a lot of
very loved. Lots of there's 2 play sets of counter spells here. So this is a player that obviously had an extra play set just in case they needed it for a different deck.
And when it came in the folder, every card of the same, every multiple was in the same pocket of the 9
yes.
sorted together.
Yes.
And so that kind of led to some of the quality degradation over time as well. But it just, the entire notebook itself was well played, or most of it was well played, I would say.
Yeah, every card in here, with the exception of a few where you could tell it's just a card that he may not have needed for a deck, which thankfully some of the higher end stuff in here,
right,
he never really touched, and so there's a lot of stuff in here that is played, but there's a few good cards that are in great condition, near mint condition.
And then these are the rest of what we would call the lower end, high end things.
The lower end notable cards.
Right, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Jake was wonderful enough to go through this entire collection, pull them all out, sort them down and price them out. So as we, see our Black Vise and the Rack and our really old Howling Mine, which I love. I was in love with that card when I started playing, and this art is just sick to me. Also, the Library of Lang and the Scepter. The collection already is cool to me. Before we even really get into the high value.
It's a loved collection. It's a really cool collection. A lot of people ask, and we'll touch on it briefly. They'll ask, what is the difference between light play and mild play or medium play?
Yeah.
And the big difference between light play and medium play is that light play will have like 3 or 4 nicks on it. It could have a tiny bit of surface wear, but the volume of it should be really, really low. So the card shouldn't have like 4 or 5 nicks on it and have like scratching and surface play. It can have like a little bit of scratching, it can have a couple nicks, and then it's light play. But if it's like multiple nicks, there's like border edging, the back of it is scratched, the front of it is scratched, that's clearly a medium play. And so that's like the easiest way to do it. Like light play looks mostly near mint. There could be a couple nicks, maybe a couple small scratches. But if it's, medium play, if there's like creasing and stuff like that, you're getting into heavy play. But most of this collection is medium play, which for a buyer is a great thing because you're able to go in and buy really cool old cards for, a fraction of the price, which is nice.
Exactly.
All right, so you just saw most of our low-end notables from the collection. Obviously, we're not going to show you all the bulk. We know that you don't have time for that, neither do we. But now we're going to get into some of the cards that were like clearly notable that have a little bit of value.
Yep, I would start here with these near mint sets, 2 and 1 light played set of old Lightning Bolt.
Yeah, I mean, dude, when you're going through an old collection and you find just like, I'm thinking, because based on what I saw in this collection, most of the blue stuff was like played, dude. Most of the black stuff was played. I don't think this guy ever played red, because normally you would expect red, like Lightning Bolts, to just be like, just beat up.
Right.
We have a couple Shivan Dragons here, which are from Revised. These are really neat. Shivan Dragon is like an OG card, man. It's played in Vintage. If this were an alpha, it would be like insane. I think it'd be like a couple $1,000s.
Right.
Over the last couple years, a lot of the alpha stuff has started, really going up. Like jank alpha rares are worth thousands of dollars just because it's the first time that they were ever printed.
Exactly.
Which is just crazy.
I love this old art Wrath of God. That thing is so cool.
Yeah, go ahead and take it out of the sleeve there.
With the face in the sky.
Yeah, man.
It's such a cool...
It really is a cool old Wrath. Yeah.
I dig it a lot.
Yeah, I like the art. The set had a near mint revised Nightmare, which is very cool. Most of the stuff you're going to see here is revised. Little Meek Stone action, light played. Couple copies of Darkness, which is a card that is kind of taken off in Modern as far as like a mill card.
Yeah, you've been running it in your mill deck.
It essentially time warps your opponent, or time walks your opponent. You get to just stave off a turn, and in mill, if you can get an extra Glimpse the Unthinkable off, that's enough to kind of close out a game.
Now, like 5-6 years ago, before the Commander sets started getting reprinted, if we had found this many Soul Rings,
three Soul
Rings in a collection like this, that would have been...
Oh, we would have been like, oh my god! Oh,
yeah. Would have been cash.
Yeah, if they hadn't reprinted it.
But now, $6, medium play, bunch of old ones, with the awesome Fire Ring art. I'm a huge fan of having those.
Now, this card is really interesting. This is a Legends version of Kismet, which is really crazy because when you see an old Legends card and it has such a powerful effect on it, you really think, oh my gosh, we just woke up with some money. But unfortunately, this enchantment is not Moat. This is not a Tabernacle of Pendrevale. This card is not reserve list. It was printed in 4th edition and some other stuff. And therefore, it's only about a $10 bill. But the difference in price, just simply because it's Legends,
right,
is really interesting just from that printing. It's worth more. It's
got
worth
a Brain Geyser
more.
here. Old style draw spell.
Yeah.
$7 for a light play Brain Geyser.
Yeah, it's a cool thing. A couple copies of OG Maze of Ith. Now, this is in mild play,
right,
or medium play, but what a cool old card.
Still, yeah, it's just still
and awesome. I love that old art. And something interesting about this card is it was originally printed as a common.
Right.
So if you were buying Pacts of the Dark, like, this is just something that you could pretty much expect to find.
Yeah.
Which crazy. Would later on be considered, oh no, dude, this card is freaking rare.
Yeah, absolutely it is. Look at this one. $15 for a Ring of Immortals. Never even heard of this card.
Legends had some really neat old gems. And the fact that we have an artifact here that counters an instant or enchantment that targets a permanent that you control, like, you don't get that effect on an artifact these days.
It's very, very interesting.
You would have to get a counterspell on an Isochron Scepter. That's like what you have to do.
That would be a good one to alter into a Infinity Gauntlet.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, that's cool. Now we're getting into some of the good stuff. This is, a Demonic Tutor.
Yep.
This is
mild play.
Oh yeah, two of them in there. And they're both pretty beat up. You can see the back of them. This card is a loved card. There's nice edge wear on these. There's scratching and I mean, the thing is it's still sorcery speed searches you up a card in EDH, so it doesn't matter what it looks like.
Right into your hand. It doesn't go to the top of the library.
Beautiful card.
These are the cards that the demons still... It's hard to see here, but the demons still had the...
pentagram on their head.
The pentagram on the forehead. I can't
back when Magic was much more edgy, for sure.
Yeah, exactly. So, let's talk about that thing.
Alright, so this is pretty much the... We'll go ahead and spoil it. The most expensive card in the collection. You're not going to see any Underground Seas in here. We didn't look... wake up with any dual lands.
Yeah, and believe me, the first thing I did when I got the folder was flip right to the land section and go, damn.
Yep.
Well, this is going to be cool anyway.
But, a lot of people back then, casual players, would have been trading away the more higher-end stuff like dual lands to try to get cards that they wanted to play.
Right.
A lot of people were fine with not having dual lands in order to just, like, oh, I want to expand the collection.
But it's a cool Wheel of Fortune.
Yeah, I mean, it's a reserve list, old, nice, beautiful card. It does amazing things. It's great in EDH. It's restricted in Vintage, which is why the price for a reserve list card is not out of the stratosphere. You can only run one of it.
Right.
So, it's a really cool card, though. Definitely the highlight of the collection, I would have to say.
So, let's talk about the hidden gems that we found in this folder. We went through, we've already shown you the most expensive cards, just completely value-wise. But there were some things hiding amongst other stuff in the notebook that we noticed late and went, oh man, there may be some even more value in here.
So if you're sitting there and you're going, oh my god, guys, those are unlimited cards. Yeah, you're completely right. They are unlimited. And you can tell they're unlimited because of the edge on these cards, but we're going to get into that a little bit more later. But these unlimited cards were hanging out with, obviously the revised versions of themselves, which if you were a collector back in the day, you didn't really care much. They're pretty much the same cards. You would have grouped them all together. There's no real reason to separate them. But now, as alpha and beta stuff is getting soaked up, Unlimited being the set that comes right after those are the cards that are affordable to players that want to grab vintage stuff, that can't afford to just be like, well, I'm gonna go ahead and buy, $50 Alpha Swamps.
Right, exactly.
So this is just a cool Wall of Swords. Obviously, this card is absolutely jank, but I think in a limited standpoint, I think the card is really good. I would still pick it.
From an art standpoint, this card is dope. This card is dope from an art standpoint, and that is something I've found myself saying over and over and over and over and over as we've gone through this notebook.
I think the art is beautiful on this card, but but seriously though, Joel, from a limited standpoint, a 3/5 flyer for 4,
right?
That's gonna clog up pretty much any board. Like I would draft that card in Ravnica Allegiance.
Yep, absolutely. Power Sink.
Yeah, Power Sink, just a couple unlimited Power Sinks here. Obviously nothing super great about these, but it's still cool to go through and just find, like, this is a set with not a large print run.
Spell Blast.
Yeah, same thing.
Some Syncopate before Syncopate action there.
Yeah, yeah.
Got a Blue Elemental Blast.
Now, Blue Elemental Blast, dude, this is one of those cards that I feel like it's not nearly as cool as Pyroblast or the Red Elemental Blast.
Right.
Because it's really hard to get a counterspell in red.
Yeah, definitely.
This is just kind of like, you know, whatever.
Look at that old Air Elemental.
God, dude, look at the art on this.
This card has been around since the early days, and you can just see it kind of gets out of focus there, but...
It's beautiful, man.
Yeah. This card is one of my favorite cards in the entire collection, and it's not like a value-heavy card, you know?
No, it's only a few bucks. It, like, just to give you an idea, I think the price on that is like $3 or $4, and the revised version, just simply one set later, is like, you know, like 35 cents.
And then we've got this dope clone.
Look at...
Going back to our point that this player played blue.
Yeah, look at the back of this card.
Look at this. I mean, that card is loved. This card, this guy, this player loved playing clone.
And you know what? In his honor, we'll throw it in the deck.
Yeah.
We'll continue to play this card. I think this card is great.
Absolutely.
I think it's beautiful. Now, here we go.
Okay, so.
Here they are. This is the true hidden gem of the collection. Like, the Wheel of Fortune is like the card where you go, oh, there's the value in the binder.
Right.
But this is the card where there were 5 of these all together. Go ahead, Joel, lay them on out there. But these were all together.
Just like in a pocket, shuffled randomly.
Yeah. And if you look at these are very beautiful. This is the first time I'm leaning over. But if you look at the back of these, a lot of these are not in this good a condition. I would say that these unlimited Swords to Plowshares here, these are, you know, like, this is a really cool find.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So you want to tell them about the edges here?
This is the big difference, and when you look at these at a glance, you're like, wait a minute, there's something different about these cards. And you know, we're gonna bring up a couple pictures here so that you can see the edge. But Unlimited has a beveled edge around the side. It has kind of like a double border.
Right.
So go ahead and take a look at these borders, and you can pretty much see the difference. Obviously, with Swords to Plowshares, the text box is different.
Right.
And you can pretty much see the difference of these cards, and if you know what to look for, you'll never ever miss it again. But the difference in price between Revised, which is over here on the right, is like, these are mild play, medium play Revised Swords to Plowshares. Those are $1 each.
$1 each right here.
Now these on the left, these Unlimited Swords, just simply because it's one set back, it has a lower print run, it kind of has a cooler, more vintage kind of look to it.
Yeah.
Those are, you know, like 30 plus a piece.
Yep, that's crazy.
So one is 30, one is 35. There's a little bit of a price difference, but yeah, it's a really cool find. And when you go through and you're buying a collection like this, you need to know to look out for this kind of stuff, because, you know, if you're inexperienced, you might be looking at these 5 cards and you're going, oh, okay, we get $5 in Swords to Plowshares here, where in essence you actually have, you know, about $65 worth of Swords to Plowshares.
Yeah, it was awesome to find those, you know, just kind of tucked in between some dollar cards. That was a fun part of this notebook expedition that we went on.
It's always fun. I think if you're like really into Magic, you're going to be hard pressed to find someone who doesn't like going through an old collection.
Oh yeah, absolutely. The night where it shipped in, I just opened it up and I was just like, oh, not even looking for value. I was just going page to page and being like, oh my god, look at this old Soul Ring. Oh my god, look at these Swords to Plowshares.
Yeah.
Oh dude, this clone.
Look at all these lightning bolts.
This clone is dope. Yeah, this old Air Elemental is just sick. That was probably my favorite part of the whole thing.
I love that there's these old cards and that they still have potency and they still have relevancy today in modern formats.
Yeah.
Not specifically modern, but just EDH, you know, standard. Some of these cards get reprinted and stuff like that. It's really cool to see them in their glory what they were in the beginning.
Yeah. Everybody, thank you so much for watching. We really appreciate your time. If you would, consider liking, subscribing. It really helps us out.
We know that there are a lot of channels out there, and the fact that you take your time to spend it with us, we do not take that for granted. We are very, very excited to have people that like to watch our content, so thank you so much.
Absolutely. Find us on Twitch, find us on Twitter. Links are down below in the description. Let us know if you've bought any collections and if you found any hidden gems in them. We'd love to talk to you about them. Let us know if you saw anything in the notebook that we missed when we were holding it up.
Didn't see?
Yeah,
do I need to take the notebook to a store and make sure that there's nothing in there? Maybe I do.
Probably so, but we're not going to. I'm tapped out.
I am tapped into my quest for personal growth, and I hope that you are too.